Chosen ones often move through life with an innate sensitivity to energy, emotion, and hidden intentions. At first, this sensitivity can make them targets for manipulation, especially by those who feed off control, dominance, and subtle mind. Games, these manipulators thrive in chaos and confusion, using tactics like guilt tripping, gaslighting, emotional withdrawal, and passive aggression to keep others off balance. But over time, chosen ones begin to notice the patterns. They start to feel the weight of recurring emotional exhaustion and begin to question why they always end up feeling drained, anxious, or unsure of themselves around certain people. This self-awareness becomes the seed of transformation. The moment a chosen one begins questioning the emotional dynamics in their relationships, the manipulation starts to unravel. They reflect on past conversations, recognizing how their words were twisted or how their emotions were invalidated. They begin to see that certain individuals only seem present when they need something, only show love when there's a reward, incite, and only support them when it benefits their image. This realization is deeply uncomfortable but crucial. It's in this phase that many chosen ones start to pull back their energy, stop oversharing, and set emotional boundaries that they once believed were selfish. What makes this journey even more powerful is that it's not just about intellectual recognition, it's deeply spiritual. Chosen ones begin to reclaim their power on an energetic level. They start to intuitively feel when something is off. They may get anxious before certain phone calls, feel tension around certain people, or experience inner resistance to environments that used to seem familiar. These are not just emotional reactions, they are spiritual signals alerting them to manipulation. Instead of brushing these feelings aside, they begin to trust them. This trust grows into strength, and with that strength comes clarity. This clarity is threatening to manipulators. The ones who once felt confident in their ability to control are now confused and frustrated. Their usual tactics, silent treatments, emotional baiting, sudden affection followed by withdrawal, no longer work. The chosen one doesn't respond the same way anymore. Instead of reacting emotionally, they stay silent. Instead of engaging in drama, they detach. Instead of seeking approval, they validate themselves. This change is jarring to those who relied on predictable responses to keep the upper hand. As the chosen one rises above the emotional games, they begin to reframe their identity. No longer a pawn in someone else's script, they become the author of their own story. This transition isn't always smooth. There may be isolation, emotional backlash, and attempts to guilt them back into the role they've left behind. But the inner knowing grows stronger with every step away from manipulation, every boundary enforced, every truth spoken, and every silence maintained in the face of provocation becomes a victory. This phase marks the beginning of emotional freedom. Chosen ones realize they don't need to explain themselves to those who never tried to understand them. They don't need to fix what they didn't break or absorb emotions that were never theirs to carry. What they do instead is reclaim their energy, trust their discernment, and step fully into their truth. When a chosen one begins to recognize manipulation and step into clarity, something powerful happens. The people who once controlled the narrative begin to unravel. Their carefully crafted strategies start to collapse under the weight of exposure. The ones who operated in secrecy, who relied on confusion and emotional misdirection, suddenly feel seen and they can't handle it. Being exposed for who they truly are creates discomfort and panic in them, because their power was never in truth, but an illusion. Once that illusion is broken, they lose their ability to operate from the shadows. Manipulators are often skilled at hiding behind charm, victimhood, or authority. They may have presented themselves as mentors, lovers, friends, or even protectors. But it was all a mask. The moment the chosen one begins to see through these masks, The manipulator senses it. They become hyper aware that their hold is slipping, and they shift into overdrive, either by becoming more aggressive, overly sweet, or creating chaos to reassert control. But it doesn't work anymore because the chosen one is now observing, not absorbing. The panic sets in because the manipulator realizes they can't predict or control the chosen one's reactions anymore. Their fear isn't just about losing the person, it's about losing access. Access to energy, validation, admiration, emotional labor, or power. The discomfort grows as their methods fail. They might start blaming the chosen one, accusing them of being cold, changed, distant, or too spiritual. These are not reflections of truth, they are projections of frustration. What they're really saying is, you're no longer responding to my tactics, and I don't know what to do with that. Some manipulators will try to flip the script. They will act like the victim, hoping the chosen one feels guilt and returns to the old dynamic. Others might attempt to discredit the chosen one, trying to make them seem unstable or ungrateful to others. This smear tactic is a desperate attempt to maintain control over the narrative. But again, it's all rooted in panic. The chosen one's awakening has disrupted the manipulator's system of power. The internal pressure for these people becomes intense. They're no longer operating from a place of confidence. They're operating from fear of being revealed, fear of losing control, fear of being cut off. Every interaction becomes a test, and they can feel the energy shift even if words are never spoken. The chosen one's energy is now guarded, their eyes no longer filled with naive trust, and their presence no longer available for manipulation. That shift is louder than words. This kind of pressure can lead the manipulator to lash out, retreat, or double down. But no matter what path they take, it's clear that the equilibrium has shifted. The relationship is no longer on their terms, and that reality is difficult for them to accept. The chosen one, simply by becoming aware and emotionally sovereign, has dismantled a dynamic that was never based on mutual respect. And in doing so, they force the manipulator to confront themselves, even if only in silence and shadows. A chosen one becomes spiritually aware, something within them fundamentally shifts. They no longer move through life reacting purely to the surface of things. They start perceiving the energy behind words, the intention behind actions, and the unseen motives driving certain people. This depth of perception makes them uniquely immune to psychological mind games that once had power over them. It's not that they become emotionless or detached from reality. Rather, they grow into emotional maturity and spiritual clarity. They begin to understand that not every smile is sincere, not every compliment is rooted in kindness, and not every relationship deserves continued access to their spirit. The strength of spiritual awareness is that it provides discernment. While others might be swayed by flattery or guilt, chosen ones learn to stay centered. They notice subtle signs that once went ignored, how they feel drained after certain conversations, how certain people only appear in times of personal crisis, or how some interactions leave them with a vague sense of unease. These are not coincidences. They are energetic signals that something is off. Chosen ones trust these signals more as their awareness deepens, and this trust becomes their shield against manipulation. Because they operate from a higher consciousness, they begin to disengage from toxic cycles. When someone tries to provoke them, they don't take the bait. When someone tries to twist reality, they don't argue, they simply detach. This unnerves manipulators who depend on emotional reactivity to maintain control. Without access to the chosen one's emotions, the mind games collapse. Spiritual awareness strips those games of their power, exposing them for the shallow tactics they are. The chosen one's energy becomes unshakable. They are no longer looking for external validation to define their worth. So tactics like gaslighting, love bombing, or triangulation fall flat. They begin to stand in truth, not fear. This stability is often misunderstood as arrogance or coldness, but it's actually self-preservation and divine alignment. When someone has endured emotional warfare and come out spiritually awake, they carry a quiet strength that can't be faked or shaken dawed as their awareness grows. Chosen ones begin to create sacred distance. They don't chase explanations or try to fix broken dynamics. They choose peace over chaos, clarity over confusion, and solitude over drama. This intentional separation isn't fueled by ego, but by wisdom. They understand that staying connected to mind games weakens their spirit, so they refuse to engage. That refusal itself becomes a powerful declaration. I see through you, and I choose me. This energy of refusal, silent, steady, and sacred, causes discomfort for those who once held influence. The games don't work, the scripts no longer apply, and the control they once had is gone. The chosen one's spiritual awareness has elevated them to a plane where manipulation can't reach. They become emotionally sovereign, spiritually protected, and mentally unbothered. This shift is not just survival, it's transcendence. It is the journey of turning pain into power, confusion into clarity, and manipulation into mastery. And that transformation is exactly what makes them untouchable to the forces that once fed off their light dot. Thank you so much for listening, for showing up for yourself, and for standing